Hey, soul survivors, we're going to talk about. Oh, I did a video. Sorry for the backdrop. We're going to go ahead and film. Yeah, I did a video where I had to be a poor person, but we're going to talk about the crazy concept of where in, let's say, the Olympics, the first place winner, the gold medal winner, of course, they're happy, but the second person in almost a large amount, they have a sadness on their face when they're at the podium. And then the third, the bronze medal, they have this happiness about them. So why is it that the second place, when they're even closer to winning the first place medal, why do they have a sadness compared to somebody who is even one step away from that? So sometimes it's societal factors that can play a part. And the reason I'm talking about this is sometimes during that discard, we feel less than. And what is causing us to feel this? Where is this sadness coming from? That we compare ourselves to the new supply, kind of like we're feeling like they're the gold medal winner. And we have a lot of sadness because of it. And also how society treats people. So if you're in the third place, they know that you're few steps away, but you still came so close. So they look at it as an accomplishment to where they see you as a little bit more of an underdog. So as you are reaching up, third place is really, really good. But if you're second place, you were neck and neck with that person to where it kind of sucks. You didn't get it, or you should have tried harder. You were that close, that we feel pressure or embarrassment. And it was just really interesting, all the different pictures that I have seen of how sad somebody who got a silver medal was compared to the bronze medal. So as we're comparing ourselves, we have to realize, for one thing, our own accomplishments, who we are as a person, and not compare ourselves to the new supply. It's just a different person, just like the gold medal. A lot of times it was just a better day for them that day. Doesn't necessarily mean that they're better. It could. There are some phenomenal athletes that overpower the others, but it's not always good. This isn't a competition. And we have to realize that the relationship got toxic, or that we were just used. There's different kinds of narcissists and also different ways that they use people. So feel free to ask any questions if you'd like some of your specific answers. But how we perceive things makes a huge difference. So if we feel second place, we can look at it like, we had our time with that person, that we did the best that we could, and we can't change the past. And you can get that silver medal and just give up, feeling that you're never going to get that gold medal, or you can always try to achieve your goals. Sometimes it may never happen, but at least you tried. And I don't want you guys giving up on your life because you were second medal feeling instead of so far removed. When you're more and more removed from the situation, just like if I was in love with Elvis or Leonardo DiCaprio or whoever it would be, to where you're like, there's no chance, like, why get sad about it? They don't even know me. But the closer you are, the more intense the feelings can be, to where sometimes we take things personally. And a lot of the way people interact with each other is a reflection on themselves. People compare, or people get hurt, and the dynamics of relationships are really, really interesting, especially when it's dealing with abnormal psychology and all the different psychopathy that's out there, or the narcissism. And I've been like racking my brain. I think about this almost nonstop, like trying to understand the human brain. But I realize over time, with the roles that are happening, where men, their role is kind of being knocked down by females who are becoming empowered, and just the differences, and also how we raise people. It used to be boys, and they got away with things, or it was brushed off like, don't punish them. They broke something. They're just wrestling. That's just how boys are. But girls were, when I grew up, you're made to be dainty and this and that, and not to overspeak or get aggressive. And also too, the men were more, or at least the men showed aggression, and kind of kept you in your place, whether they put it on you or within between themselves, to where you felt a little more meek. And so now the roles are changing, and I would like to know more about what you guys would like to learn about, because there is science behind the brain damage and the way that the brain communicates. And I did a lot of research yesterday on alcoholism and how the brain is affected, and also, drugs, things like that. So in order to get a diagnosis, they have to alleviate any alcoholism or any drug addictions. So some of the people, because you see how profound it is, how many people are complaining about a narcissistic ex or partner. And, sometimes when you're under the influence, you can have narcissistic tendencies, or when you're in a triggered state. That's why a lot of times too, this reactive abuse and are we the narcissist, that they talk about the intent behind the actions. And I also really evaluate certain things. And I noticed one relationship thing that is fresh in my mind was when the narcissist or narcissistic person does something, time goes by, you're waiting for them to fulfill what their promise was, kind of like that future faking, and you believe them. And then you say something about it and you try to talk about it, and they're like, that was so long ago, but they never communicate what it's okay to cancel, but they don't communicate that. So you're left in a different state. So they're talking to you on a different state. Like, what's the big deal? Why are you bringing this up? That was so long ago. Like they just let it go. They just forget about certain things. And so they see you as the beginning of the craziness, the toxicity. And they misunderstand the way that you communicate, because you're not trying to cause blame. You're not trying to cause problems. You're just trying to clarify a situation. And they take it as it's a big ordeal. And it's interesting how we have to over-explain things. A lot of times it is like talking to a child. Sometimes it's confusing on the timeline, like who's the narcissist. Now, granted, I'll tell you, in that conversation, I was not blaming. I was just bringing up, hey, this is what happened. This is why I'm asking. And we did talk about it, but we didn't talk it full circle, or I'm asking a new question. And they don't see when you're asking a new different question. They relate it to how they're going to interpret what you're trying to say. It gets very frustrating. And you start a lot of times walking on eggshells or altering the way that you speak. If you guys can comment below, did you have to alter the way that you spoke? And I'm not talking anger words, but I'm talking sequential, to where let's say you have 3 things in that topic that you want to bring up, but you're afraid that they're going to shut down. So you bring the third, and then the first, and then the second, and you're talking out of order, but you're trying to craft communication to where you keep them engaged, not shutting down, or where they get the full story before jumping down your throat, because you can't just say something and then have that like punchline that they're going to take offense to things when you're not meaning to be offensive. So these relationships are very difficult. I am a teacher, and the way that the child's mind works is in a more needy state, quick to assume things or to defend or go towards their own self needs. And some of that is survival. Some of that is learning things that they have to go through. But when somebody is an adult, they should have learned those lessons along the way. But in order to get through certain lessons in life, the narcissist learned how to lie, manipulate, hide things. And there's reasons behind that. But when they are in a healthy relationship, what should be a healthy relationship, that they still feel certain pressures. So if you're trying to talk to them, it triggers something, and we will never really know exactly what's going to trigger them. If we're like, hey, did you pick that up at the store? And they're going to think we're either mothering them or badgering them or nagging them or not having faith in them, that it's like, oh, I just needed to know if you picked that up. And it's hard to communicate with them. But as far as the bronze medal, that person's happy. They feel that they made it to that podium, that they did the best that they could. And they're thankful for where they're at in life. And when you feel so close to having what you had hoped for, kind of feels like a silver medal, to where you are upset. And it doesn't feel fair. And a lot of times, you know, sometimes we are better, or sometimes it's just a different person. One thing that, you know, kind of scares me about different YouTubers, we're all beautiful people, you know, everybody has pros and cons, good and bad to them. But I see a lot of YouTubers telling everybody it wasn't your fault. And a lot of times there's a lot of instances that weren't your fault. But we do have to also learn from the situation. Where there's things that we could have handled differently, because there's times we re-trigger the person too. And if we can learn those lessons and bring those into our new relationships and heal from what we went through, it's a much better chance of having a healthy relationship. Setting up those boundaries are crucial, but it's also the way that we say certain things. It's not setting a rule, it's allowing somebody to make that decision. And this is what's interesting. If you continue talking that way, I will have to leave. Not if you don't stop talking that way, you have to stop, where you're telling them what to do. People don't like to be told what to do. But if there's consequences and you follow through, once you don't follow through, they're going to think they can get away with it. That we all kind of shift in our relationships. And if they're meant to be with us, you know, they're going to shift with us. And there's going to have certain things with them if they put up the boundaries. Because people a lot of times need to feel that whatever is in their life was things that they chose. And boundaries have to be set the right way. And communication is so vital. But with the narcissist, with all the lies and the word salad and manipulative tactics, or the eye rolls or the huffs or the screaming or slamming or throwing, that we don't feel safe. So to sum it up, life doesn't always seem fair, but we have to realize where we're at. We've come through life with a lot of good things. And if we focus on the good things, so that silver medalist could have internal pride and tell people like, look, I'm proud of this. Or they can let the outside affect them, where it's like, hey, you're really good, should have gotten first, and take that as something to add to the sadness. So our perspective keeps us powerful and keeps us fulfilled. So narcissistic relationships are extremely damaging. And it's almost like trying to work on them only seems to make it worse. And that's where it gets frustrating, because narcissists don't stick to boundaries. They'll push the limits or go behind your back, and they don't communicate the right way. And, you know, they don't want to see our side to things. So there are times that our frustrations are going to cause us to either yell or throw a little temper tantrum because we're so frustrated, or to cry all the time. So the narcissist isn't going to want to be around somebody who cries all that time, and they're going to start making it worse instead of making it better, or understanding us, or they'll start being dismissive of us because we're going through a hard time. And we should be with people who want to build us up. We also have to take accountability for ourselves too, to not allow ourselves to stay in ruts for too long, to realize if a situation is causing us anxiety or depression or frustration, that, you know, in the future, really get to know your person before moving in with them or marrying them, because society is getting more narcissistic. And the red flags, hopefully we learned a little bit of a lesson from that, because a lot of us empaths would like to forgive or give second or third chances. And we have to realize, when is enough enough? Are they changing? How are they showing us they're changing? So you're a gold medalist in my heart. It's sad how many relationships fall apart, but if you dealt with a narcissist or a psychopath or sociopath, that was not your fault. They hid who they truly were. It wasn't just a relationship that went bad. It was a relationship based on lies. So we don't even know what the reality of the relationship is. And that can be hard to deal with, but it's refreshing and uplifting once you get past the pain and the healing starts. One-on-ones are available. Topic requests are always welcomed, and I'll make some videos for you guys. Just let me know what you want to learn about.